All right. What's happening? Welcome in on this Thursday. We are happy to have you. Happy game day to all the Preds fans out there. That's going to be an exciting home opener at Bridgestone Arena tonight. I'm thinking about going. Preds fans don't like it when I go to the games because they lose. Lucas always tells me that I think I have way more power over that than I actually do, but I think there's enough superstition. There's enough. Are you a superstitious sports fan? Jackson Williams is back there. Lucas is back from vacation on Monday. We got your phone calls. 615-737-1045 is the number if you want to jump in. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch is also where you can interact with us today. Are you superstitious as a sports fan?
I used to be. There was a time in my life where I wouldn't wear orange on Tennessee game days because they always lost when I wore orange.
Like orange at all or just primary orange?
Orange at all. I would wear like a blue T-shirt to a Tennessee game.
You didn't think that was more a problem with your coaching staff than it was with your attire?
No, because they won when I wore the blue shirt.
Ironic enough. So I think there is some superstition. So I'm going to go tonight. I'm going to see what the hype is about. The Preds are exciting this year, and I'm scared. I'm scared that the football team's going to end up like 2-5 down the stretch, Jackson, and you, me, and Lucas are going to be talking damn hockey in November, which is fine if the Preds are good, but that is a significant pivot for this particular radio show that I don't know that we are equipped to make just yet.
We can try.
Well, we've been trying to do radio for 3 years at this point. I don't know what the results of that are either, but, we persevere. At the very least. We have J.C. Latham on the radio show today. We have Diana Rossini on the radio show today. We will talk with the rookie left tackle about a big rookie matchup. Laiatu Latu is the best rookie edge rusher out there. He's, of course, the first edge rusher picked in this year's draft by the Indianapolis Colts. J.C. Latham has been playing really good football since week one, since his, we'll call it a rocky debut against the Chicago Bears. But this is a legitimate challenge for him. I'm looking forward to seeing how he does. Looking forward to seeing that matchup, him against Will Anderson. There's a lot of fun future AFC South matchups that I think are going to carry into the next couple of years. We were hopeful about the quarterbacks, and I don't know if any of the quarterbacks are good besides C.J. Stroud, so still waiting on that.
Wouldn't they put their best edge rusher against NPF or Leroy Watson?
Well, I don't know that he's their best edge rusher because that's a fair point, and we'll get to Leroy Watson and Nicholas Petit-Frere, who apparently are going to split reps this week in practice. I guess they didn't feel like John Ojukwu was pushing NPF enough in practice. Jalen Duncan, clearly they said, all right, we're good on this experience. Let's go ahead and just pull the ripcord on that right away. Kwity Paye, DeForest Buckner's not going to play in the game. He's on injured reserve. Kwity Paye was on the injury report. Worth keeping an eye on. The Colts are pretty banged up right now, which is something that we're going to address here in just a little bit. But for the quarterbacks, getting back to the state of quarterback in the AFC South, Will Levis practiced yesterday. He was listed as Callahan said at the press conference when we carried it yesterday that he would probably be limited. Now, I thought that he was talking about his designation for the game on Sunday would be limited. I didn't take that to mean that he would be limited in practice, nor was he limited in practice. He was on the injury report, dealing with the shoulder, did everything in practice yesterday, and sound like he felt pretty good about where everything was at that point. I saw a lot of you on social media when we posted videos of the quarterback throwing, nitpicking his throwing mechanics as if it hasn't looked the exact same every week of OTAs, training camp, and regular season leading up to that. Now you're just hyper-focused on the shoulder, and you're looking to see if anything at all is different. I assure you it's not. He's actually had the same injury on the opposite shoulder, which is not something that I knew until he disclosed that yesterday. That one sounded more severe as far as the injury went, but it wasn't on his throwing shoulder. This is the first time that he's had the injury on his right shoulder. He was showing us his scar yesterday at the press conference. And, I thought he looked fine. We don't get to see the whole of practice, so I don't know what he looked like or what they're installing or what part of the playbook they're going to implement this week against the Colts. Obviously, we don't have access to that portion of practice. They don't want us to see and give away all their state secrets on the internet before their upcoming opponent. So, as far as he looked like he's looked every other Wednesday that I've been out there, which is pretty routine. Now, Trevor Siemian's on the roster. Brian Callahan said yesterday that he did not think, basically, that the signing of Siemian had nothing to do with Will Levis's status for Sunday. And they're treating it as if he's going to play, barring disaster. So unless, his shoulder falls off, I guess today or tomorrow at practice ahead of Sunday's game, then Will Levis is going to be the starting quarterback. And it sounds like Richardson's going to go too. That's probably not good for the Colts' chances if Anthony Richardson plays in this game. Now, we said that about Malik Willis when he came to town with the Green Bay Packers, and you let Malik not only get the best of you, but beat you pretty handily. Defense had its worst performance of the year. Richardson they have struggled with quarterbacks and their mobility, whether it's Tyler Huntley or Malik Willis. They have struggled to contain, and Anthony Richardson is bigger, faster, stronger. The question is, though, is he healthy enough to do all the things that Anthony Richardson should be able to do? But for Levis, I asked him yesterday at the press conference about how important it was for him to be available in this specific game. Because all the games are important, but this is an AFC South opponent. It's the first divisional game of the year, and you don't play another one, as I've reminded you many, many times this week. You don't play another one for 6 weeks. This was Will Levis yesterday.
Really, are you saying physically? Sorry. It's very important. It's one of those push and pull things where I'm a competitor. I'm going to push myself to play in whatever state that I'm in. And it's going to be hard for myself to take myself out, but I got to be smart throughout the week and feel it out, see how I feel, not put myself and my team in jeopardy. But I'm fighting like hell to get out there on Sunday.
Fighting like hell to get out there on Sunday. Okay. Bleep around and find out. That's basically how I'm treating this entire game.
For both sides.
I mean, truly. But like the Colts, man, they don't have anything else. Michael Pittman, he hasn't been put on injured reserve or anything like that, but Schefter's reporting and Ian Rappaport are reporting that he's going to miss a couple of weeks dealing with a back injury.
He is an IR candidate.
But has not yet been officially placed on injured reserve to date. Perhaps that changes by the time we're done with the radio show today. We'll keep an eye on these things for you. Will Fries, one of their starting guards, placed on injured reserve. One of their corners placed on injured reserve. Earlier in the week, they are expected to get back Ryan Kelly, who's their solid veteran center. This is going to be the best interior offensive line that the Titans' defensive front has faced to date. I think that they need a really good showing. And, as far as the injury report goes for Tennessee, what on earth do we do with Jeff Simmons and this elbow injury? He didn't practice again yesterday. It's a rest day. They're trying to give him as much opportunity to get the elbow injury, the UCL injury, right before they trot him out there. But DNP listed as rest with that elbow, as was DeAndre Hopkins rest and L'Jarius Sneed rest. Jamal Adams did not practice, dealing with his continued issue with a hip. And many of you got excited because you saw Treylon Burks was listed for personal reasons as not having practiced. He had a kid yesterday. He's not getting traded. All of you vultures, settle down. I could feel the disappointment through my phone on Twitter when I had to point out to people, no, he's not being shelved so they can trade him to somebody. He had a child yesterday. You should be happy for him.
Congrats to the Burks family.
Exactly. That is the appropriate response as opposed to, oh, damn, can the kid run an out route? That's what I got yesterday on Twitter. You people are merciless. So, interesting game, critical game, most important game of the year. We're going to dive into the matchup later on with a couple of different things that I think this team needs to have in order to beat the Colts, and they should be able to, frankly, beat the Colts soundly. Like I said, J.C. Latham is going to join us at 11:35 today. We're going to have Diana Rossini on at 12:20, because another thing I want to get to, speaking of the defense and speaking of matchups, is I think this team needs another edge rusher, at least another edge rusher. And there's a couple different ways that we can talk about acquiring another pass rusher beyond working out the two guys that they did earlier this week. There are guys on practice squad that I'm interested in. There's also a player for the New York Jets that I'm creeping closer and closer to considering a trade for being necessary for this defense to continue to be what it statistically looks like right now, but to be able to sustain that, because right now they don't have enough pass rush to get this thing done. 615-737-1045 is how you join the conversation. So what am I going to hear coming up next, Jackson?
Lots of things.
You're not looking at the show grid, are you?
No, did not have it pulled up yet.
We're only 11 minutes into the show. Why would you need the rundown for the show today?
Levis defense Lucas was tired of last week.
All right, so Lucas has just been waiting for the right opportunity to tear Will Levis down the way that he tried to tear him down during the draft process, and then had to. Do we feel like the apology was fake?
Yes.
I don't think his heart was in it. His heart literally wasn't in it. He outsourced it to AI. He auto-generated an apology poem to Will Levis to apologize for his doubt. And now Lucas is thinking about retracting the apology. But apparently there's a defense of Will Levis that he's getting tired of. So I want to hear that defense coming up next, and we'll react to it together. I'm Buck Rising. It's 104.5 The Zone.
Hey guys, Lucas Panzica here to tell you about Hattie B's, the best hot chicken in Nashville. And good news, now you can get it on Titans game days. Hattie B's is available in section 121 and 339, serving up your favorites at every Titans home game. Titans obviously are off this weekend. If you're having people over to watch the NFL slate, to watch some college football on Saturday, there's no better way to get fueled up for your watch party than with Hattie B. So pick up your flock pack that feeds between 4 to 8 people. Fill up your bucket of chicken, tenders, jumbo wings, your favorite heat level, hot or not, everything in between. Maybe you want to mix it up a little bit. You want to give a little Russian roulette with some mild and some shut the cluck up. Have some fun with it. The flock packs come with 2 quarts also of the classic Hattie B sides, which for me are the best there is. The pimento mac and cheese, my personal favorite. Cheese grits, collard greens, potato salad. Wash it all down with a gallon of lemonade or tea. The flock packs start at only $55. They can be ordered exclusively online at HattieB.com or on the Hattie B's app. Download the app today. You get a free dessert just by downloading it. Visit any one of their 6 locations, the factory at Franklin, Lower Broadway, Melrose, Midtown, Nashville West, and the Nashville Airport, and of course now at Nissan Stadium. And let the best hot chicken in Nashville, Hattie B's, fuel your watch party this weekend.
Welcome back to the show. We are fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken. 615-737-1045 is the number if you want in. So I was off last week, took a little vacation on the bye, got away to the beach, I didn't put football out of my head because the college football Saturday was insane. The NFL Sunday, was that the best NFL Sunday we've had so far this season?
Yeah, from wire to wire. There were good games on.
And that's, that's honestly more and more rare the further that we get into this, or the further that the more that I watch NFL football next to college football. It's just such a drop off, like from the fun, right? College football is the infinitely more fun sport, and I say that as somebody who covers the NFL for a living. It's a bit of a letdown when you go from Saturdays to Sundays. And this Sunday held up its end of the bargain. We'll see how much that continues, because for the most part, I'm trying to figure out how many of these teams are actually any good. And the NFL does this successfully year after year after year with the way that the league is built for parity, but it does not lend itself to good and fun and exciting football very often. Now, is Titans football right now fun?
No.
Is it exciting?
No.
Is it dramatic?
Yes.
Okay, because I'm trying to think of a way to kind of navigate through this, because there is some intrigue to me in seeing Levis and Richardson on opposite sidelines to see who can, which one of them is going to make the mistake, right? Which one of them is going to have the meltdown? Which one of them is going to throw the ghastly interception? Which one of them is going to have the pick six? I mean, Levis is the more memeable player, and I want. For somebody who's as tightly wound as he seems to be, I can't imagine that helps a lot to be the butt of the internet's joke week after week after week when you've played 4 weeks, and in all 4 weeks you've come out with a very memeable moment.
I'm assuming it doesn't sit well.
Can't imagine so. But maybe he uses it for motivation. Maybe it drives him. We'll see. Colts week is a big week, no matter when you play them. But this one in particular, because it has the potential to. Right now you're on a like let's say a medieval ship. All right, you're trying to sail from point A to point B. You're on this medieval ship that is the Titans' 2024 season. Now, modern day seafaring vessels have the ability to, and I'm gonna expose my lack of boat knowledge here. But when you take on a little bit of water, boats have drainage systems to make sure that you're not sitting there with a bucket bailing out the water. But this isn't a modern vessel, okay? Not this thing that you're trying to cross the sea with. This thing is wooden. It's got sails. Maybe you have to row it from time to time, and you need to bail out water anytime water comes over the side of the ship. This Colts game is the bucket, okay? You can bail out the water of your season with a win in this game against an opponent that is infinitely beatable. So beatable based on what I'm seeing, especially if Richardson starts. And you've started the process, right? You bailed out a little water in Miami. You kept yourself from going under. You kept yourself from sinking. But to continue that, or to continue to ascend, you have to continue to bail that water out. This game could sink you. This game could save you. And we've had a lot of those conversations already, but that's because they started the season 0-3, and all they've had to do, or all they've been able to do since then, is try and bail this water out. So, try to stay afloat, try to keep your head above water, trying to do it against the Colts this week. You're going to rely on Will Levis, it seems. Maybe things change today at practice, maybe things change tomorrow at practice. Right now, Will Levis is going to start on Sunday against the Colts. So, when I was out last week, I guess Lucas did a whole segment on the Will Levis defense that he's tired of hearing. Now, how many people are out there defending Will Levis that you've been able to see? Because I don't see a lot of Kurt Warner is doing more defending of Will. Greg Cosell has had really good explanations of, in particular, 2 of the 3 pick sixes. Wait, has he had 3 pick sixes?
No, just 2.
2 pick sixes. The pick six and against the Packers, and then the interception that he threw to the defensive lineman. Greg has broken those down, not as a defense of Will Levis, but to explain, hey, this is what's happening on the play. And then, by the way, you see Aaron Rodgers throw that same interception to not to Emmanuel Ogbah. He threw it to Andrew Van Ginkel against the Vikings over the weekend. But you see Aaron Rodgers, 40-year-old Aaron Rodgers, who's made every play in the world, who's seen every defense in the world, and can still get got from time to time, make that exact same throw, make that exact same mistake, and it resulted in a 65-plus yard pick six by a defensive lineman. So there can be explanations, there can be defenses. What Titans fans, I think, are trending towards is, okay, now you're just making excuses for the guy. I'm curious to know what Lucas decided to grandstand on as far as what defense people are regularly making for Levis, because I don't think I've heard that many defenses of Levis. Let's hear it.
So there's one defense that gets brought up a lot, not just about Will Levis, but about any young quarterback that struggles early on, which we're seeing a lot of in the NFL. And it's a comparison that goes back to a couple of Hall of Famers, Jackson. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Peyton Manning led the league in interceptions in his rookie year.
Peyton Manning broke the rookie record for interceptions in his first year with the Indianapolis Colts. Troy Aikman went 0-11 in his first year with the Dallas Cowboys. There is not an argument that gets brought up more than those two when young quarterbacks get criticism or when young quarterbacks struggle in their rookie year or in their second year. I mean, for Will Levis, right, he has yet to start. He has not started 16 or 17 games in his career. So people use that. He's basically still a rookie. Peyton Manning, rookie record of interceptions. That is one defense that we've got to stop with. We have to stop because it's apples to oranges on what we do nowadays with NFL quarterbacks.
All right. I get that. I don't hear people bring up that often with Levis, though.
We had a couple callers bring it up throughout the week.
Aikman and Manning?
Yes. Titans talk back. It's brought up a lot.
No, I can't imagine what the phone calls are like on Titans talk back. I at least get about maybe not quite 24 hours for you guys to cool off before I come in here and you melt my face off with your opinions. But I see what he's saying because of how far removed we are from Aikman and Manning or whatever. So if you're talking about defenses that are valid for young quarterbacks, inexperienced quarterbacks, it's that we're throwing them all out there too early. Is that we've failed more quarterbacks as a league than quarterbacks who have come in here and failed, right? It's what Kevin O'Connell, who's doing a great job with the reclamation project that is Sam Darnold, went on, I can't remember which show it was. It was a national broadcast, but he went on, Rich Eisen. He went on Rich Eisen and said, yeah, as a league, organizations are failing young quarterbacks more than young quarterbacks are failing teams. And I couldn't agree with that assessment of it more. Now, if you're an inexperienced player in the NFL and you don't want to pay these guys $60 million a year while you're still trying to figure it out. Now, maybe you don't have to pay them top of market or whatever, but think about the quarterbacks that got paid this year. Trevor Lawrence, Tua. I mean, Jordan Love still has a lot of work to do to prove that he is. I mean, I know I picked him as a potential MVP candidate this year, and, provided that he would have stayed healthy, I would have felt pretty good about him and Matt LaFleur figuring this out. I still think that the Packers are a very capable team once Love kind of works his way through the rust because he Levised this weekend too, and arguably it was worse. So it's a tough spot for organizations. I get if you're a team saying, no, get the rookie out there, get the young player out there right now. We have the clock has started on these contracts, because on the other side of this is if you're trying to still figure it out when you pick up this player's fifth-year option or whatever, that could really cost you. Which quarterback do you feel like turned the tide on that the most? Like the wait and see approach? Because I would who comes to mind when we talk about quarterbacks that kind of change the dynamics for how long teams were willing to basically challenge their quarterbacks, their young quarterbacks, to earn that second extension, to basically play on prove it years. Flacco's the one that comes to mind for me. And that was damn near 10 years ago after the Ravens Super Bowl run. Joe Flacco was in a contract situation. What was that, 2012? When the Ravens went to the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
Beat the Niners?
Super Bowl in 2012.
He's in a contract situation. They don't want to pay. They're not willing or overly willing to pay Joe Flacco at the time. They want Flacco to go out there and prove it. Flacco goes out there, beats Manning on the road, has one of the best playoff runs. What was it? It was like 14 touchdowns and no interceptions, or 11 touchdowns and no interceptions. It's Joe Flacco and Joe Montana for the most touchdown passes thrown without a pick in a postseason run. Those are the only two. And it's crazy. And, to Flacco's credit, he's continued to have a long and successful career, even if he hasn't been a Super Bowl MVP again. But he won Super Bowl MVP. He was excellent on the way to get there. He came through in the clutch in really big games, and maybe you blame the Denver loss that Peyton Manning sustained at the hands of Joe Flacco to busted coverage by that safety where Jacoby Jones just runs by him. Art, rest in peace. On his way to the end zone. But the Ravens were over a barrel at that point. They had no choice but to give Flacco one of the biggest contracts in NFL history at the time, which, in modern terms, looks like pennies on the dollar.
11 touchdowns, no picks in that 2012 run.
11 touchdowns, no picks. And Flacco ultimately, he has a couple of years that they have below average success for what that organization, what the Ravens are accustomed to. They ultimately end up drafting Lamar Jackson, 32nd overall. I think they trade back up in the first round to get Lamar once it's clear that Lamar is going to be available. Because I think their first round pick that year was Hayden Hurst, the tight end, which tells you everything you need to know about the draft and how inexact a science it is. Flacco feels like one of at least the modern day turning point for, okay, we can't afford to let these quarterbacks go out there and prove it because they will eat up a giant percentage of our salary cap if they get this done. And we let it play out in a big spot. Now, Flacco is an extreme. Flacco goes to the Super Bowl. Flacco wins the Super Bowl. Flacco has as good a run as any football player has had in the postseason, save Joe Montana, which is crazy to think about in modern day. It's also the approach that a lot of teams have tried to take around young players, whether it's Levis, whether it's Richardson. Get the young quarterback, do as much as you can around the young quarterback on a rookie contract, and try and push that mega cap hit that the quarterback will take up down the road as much as humanly possible while trying to have the most amount of success. Russell Wilson was a third-round pick, and he was a different kind of situation because Seahawks famously paid Matt Flynn all that money just for him to lose his job to Russell Wilson that year in training camp. And Russ was a passenger on those Seahawks Super Bowl teams. He was secondary or third, honestly, behind Marshawn Lynch, or depending on how you would stack them, the Legion of Boom defense, which is one of the best defenses we've ever seen in NFL history, and then Marshawn Lynch in the ground game. And Russ was a cog in that machine. He was an effective cog in that machine, but he wasn't the facilitator there. How many rookie quarterbacks have we seen, or young quarterbacks, quarterbacks on rookie deals? How many quarterbacks on rookie deals have we seen be the facilitator for Super Bowl championships? It doesn't happen. So I don't know how much more of a sample size the league needs to understand. Yeah, sometimes it's okay to sit it, even if you're burning one of these incredibly valuable years of a rookie deal, one of these incredibly cost-effective years of a rookie deal, because these guys just have to play multiple seasons in the NFL, multiple starts in the NFL before you can legitimately make a determination on whether they're good enough or not. And I know that's not acceptable. That's clearly not acceptable to the way that NFL teams have gone about doing their business, or to NFL ownership as well. And I understand that I'm not the one paying out of pocket for Calvin Ridley or L'Jarius Sneed or Lloyd Cushenberry while you try and load up around a young player. But I think that you have to do those things to support the young player, even if it takes some time to figure them out. Now, does that apply to Levis? I go back and forth on this a lot because Richardson, when he got drafted, was 20. Levis was 24. Age versus experience are not the determining factor, but Levis was also the more experienced player, as was Stroud, as was Bryce Young, right? Nobody was more inexperienced, just generally playing football, than Anthony Richardson was. So Richardson, a bit of an anomaly here. But with like Hendon Hooker and Will Levis, they've played football. They've had multiple starts. They've been in multiple different systems. They've played for multiple institutions. In the case of those two guys in particular, how close to how close to the finished product are they when they come out of the draft process versus how much more can you fine-tune what it is that you know that they can do well? That, I think, is what we're still trying to figure out with Levis in particular. That's the only excuse that I think, or the only defense of him that I think is still viable at this point. He has not yet started what would amount to a full NFL season worth of starts. Do you give him 17 starts before you decide, okay, I can't do anything with this anymore? Or before you say, yeah, this is something that I can work with moving forward? Questions were asked of him at the press conference yesterday about the number of elite type of throws that he was making in his rookie year as opposed to what things have looked like now. And Brian Callahan was asked this question. Will Levis was asked this question. And I need to go back and look at his explosive plays, and more specifically, the plays where it was 10-plus or 20-plus yards through the air, not just, a catch and run that ended up going for 40, 50, or 60. Plays that he made, arm talent type of throws, and how much different that looks today, if at all, versus what he was doing in his rookie year where he's got some, F it, chuck it down the field type of stuff to him, which is what we're seeing from guys like Jared Goff, who is, saying, bleep, you're too high safety. I'll continue to push the ball deep. Where you see a lot of NFL offenses trying to manage more short and intermediate stuff to get down the field with less chunk plays because defenses are finding ways to limit those explosives. The Titans have done well to limit explosives. Gus Bradley's defense, who is the worst in the league right now in terms of total yardage, they're still not giving up explosive plays. So is it a matter of just the way that defenses have adjusted? Or is he doing things differently that limits the amount of times? Has he basically changed the way that he's trying to play the position? And how much of that is good? How much of that is coached? How much of that is mechanical? How much of that is comfort level? It's a lot of different things that we don't necessarily have all the answers to. 615-737-1045 is the number if you want to join the conversation. We'll get to the phones here in just a second. I'd be curious to know, like J.C. Latham, his experience. How bitter do you think he is about the Vanderbilt game? Should we bring it up?
Oh, yeah. I think we have to.
No, we absolutely have to. There is no question. But I saw him making a pretty, JC, I saw him making a pretty passionate defense of Jalen Milroe after that game because people were criticizing Milroe and his performance and his composure down the stretch in that game where it felt like he was starting to press a little bit. I'd be curious to know what J.C. Latham, what his perspective on quarterbacks in new situations and how much Levis is different from Milroe and how much college is different from pro, because I think the last time we had him on the show, in fact, I think the only time we've had him on the show was training camp. So we'll get that perspective in an hour from now. We'll get your phone calls coming up next. Also, we'll talk Preds. I'm Buck Rising. It's 104.5 The Zone. O'Reilly Auto Parts is a staple. You guys know the jingle. They're celebrating 25 years of it, the 25th anniversary of their famous jingle at O'Reilly Auto Parts, and they want you to be a part of the celebration. We want you to submit a cover of the jingle, a remix of your own choreographed dance, or any of the above to get an opportunity to win exclusive merch and prizes, including 3 $5,000 grand prize winners from O'Reilly Auto Parts. Submit your video to O'ReillyJingleContest.com now through October 31st, And also remember that O'Reilly Auto Parts is your place to get Rain-X Premium Silicone Advantage wiper blades that are engineered to withstand the most extreme conditions. Rain-X Premium Silicone Advantage wiper blades last 2 times longer than traditional wipers. For a limited time, you can save $16 per pair on Rain-X Silicone Advantage wiper blades, plus get 2 times O Rewards points. And when you purchase the blades with O'Reilly Auto Parts, their professional parts people will install them for free. So again, go submit your jingle contest to O'ReillyJingleContest.com now through October 31st. Terms and conditions apply. No purchase necessary. You didn't hear this song enough during Tennessee-Oklahoma week? It's a good song.
It's such a banger.
But
it's in the rotation.
Shouldn't it have been Run This Town? Shouldn't it have been Gold on the Ceiling? It's Preds game day.
We'll come back with that at some point.
Wait, no, this was the segment that we're talking about hockey.
Well, actually, we're going to talk about a dream I had.
Okay, what dream did you have? Before we talk about the Preds open tonight. Their season starts at Bridgestone Arena. It sounds like Bert and me and Ramon. I don't know who else from the radio station is going tonight, but going to be in attendance. Looking forward to seeing how that goes. You had a dream?
Yeah, I had a really strange dream.
Okay.
So me, Bert, and Lucas were all hanging out by some very tropical location at a pool. You were very clearly in your office, like your setup. But you were video calling all of us, and we're doing the show with you in your office and all of us at a tropical location. Nobody's in studio. I don't know how this was going on, but it was very strange.
Well, one, I'm concerned that your work life is bleeding into your personal life so much so that you're turning into me and you're dreaming about doing the show at home.
You had a similar dream, didn't you, bud?
Well, I didn't have a similar dream. I was panicked about not being prepared enough for the college football discussion this week without Lucas, so I had a dream about doing the first segment of the radio show on Monday while I was asleep and woke my girlfriend up at 4 a.m. on vacation doing the end of a segment where I'm tossing it to break and saying 615-737-1045 will take your calls on the Vanderbilt Commodores coming up next. And she looked at me like I was an insane person, rightfully so. So do we need like a tarot card reader or somebody to determine are there people that like can diagnose dreams, what dreams mean? I'm sure there are people that say they can do it and will take your money and be happy for it. But I don't know how to necessarily diagnose your dream. Does that mean that the three of you need a vacation from me?
Probably.
Yeah, probably makes sense. Football Fred says if you dream about work, you should take a vacation on the F&M Bank chat. Well, it's football season, so nobody gets a vacation unless it's the bye week. Those are the rules. Except I'm sure I'm going to get an email from HR being like, you can't tell people when not to take vacation. Okay.
Oops.
Preds, hockey. We got hockey tonight. So, been a while since we've kind of refreshed everything that this team did in the offseason, and they begin tonight. I mean, this is Stanley Cup ambitions. It's one thing for Amy Adams-Strunk to fire a coach and get to the podium before or when announcing Brian Callahan and saying that the Tennessee Titans have Lombardi Trophy aspirations, which is fine. There is not a professional sports organization in the state of Tennessee that has won a championship. So first to do it, you get bragging rights, right? Preds feel like they're further ahead in their cycle of competitiveness than are the Titans based on how these two teams handled their respective off seasons. Both spent significantly. And, I mean, this is a star-studded roster now that Barry Trotz has put together because they're pushing for the Stanley Cup. They're pushing for the biggest prize in hockey. They paid 3 really big-time free agents to come in here and try and get this thing back up and running at a higher level than they've been able to accomplish previously. It's not good enough to just make the postseason. Preds, beyond, 2 seasons ago when they missed the playoffs for the first time in like 8 or 9 seasons, it is the expectation that this organization should be good enough to be competing regularly for a postseason spot. So, you bring in Steven Stamkos. That's the biggest fish of the big fish. You bring in Jonathan Marchessault, who I'm sure I'm going to mispronounce his name, and Brady Shea, who has a last name that looks like I should mispronounce it, but fortunately I have a phonetic pronunciation guide today. So, also announced an 8-year, $61.92 million contract extension for goaltender UC Saros. Now, did you see the news about UC on Tuesday?
Yeah, he could miss tonight, correct?
He could miss tonight. He has been listed with a lower body injury that he sustained during a preseason game last weekend. Unclear as of this morning whether he'll play or not. Back at practice the day before the game, so back at practice yesterday, limited. He basically downplayed the injury. The Tennessean, Alex Doherty, our buddy who covers the Preds for the Tennessean, had some quotes about him downplaying the injury. I'm making progress. It's nothing too bad. And, I mean, at this point, Preds are the team. Which team coming into their respective seasons this year had the highest expectation? Vols, Titans.
Vols, Preds, then Titans.
Vols, Preds, then Titans.
Yes, in my opinion.
I think that's fair. I wasn't sure what preseason expectations were for Nashville SC or anything like that. I know that's not gone. They've had a coaching change. There's been a bunch of different things that have caused their season to ebb and flow the way that it has. Are they a playoff team right now?
Nope. Eliminated from playoff contention on Saturday.
Were they really? That's too bad. That's the first time they've missed the playoffs.
Yep, in their 5-year history.
Oh, that's too bad. Okay, so Vols, Preds, Titans. Is that realistic? I think the Preds should have been the team with the highest championship expectations coming into the year, because I think for Vols, for me, it's college football playoff. And, you start the way that you do. You have the loss to Arkansas. It affects potentially your math on the college football playoff and making the 12-team playoff. We'll see how they do against Florida and Alabama in the coming weeks. But the Preds were the team that signaled to me the most, okay, we're trying to win this thing. Very determined is Barry Trotz. There's some quotes in here from him back in July when you start getting texts from your players going, I'm excited. That says a lot. Players know players, and they know we're trying to win. There's also, they're doing a lot of upgrades at Bridgestone Arena. They spent, I think, about $15 million to improve the arena, and this is going to be a game against the Dallas Stars where are you going to get a Matt Duchene revenge game tonight? Are we expecting that?
I hope not.
D Good on YouTube says, when Buck is in the building, you always fade the Preds. I mean, regular season hockey is so tough to kind of make any strong determinations about. Baseball, basketball, the same. There's just so many more games throughout the course of the regular season, and you know that you're going to be in for a bit of a roller coaster ride no matter how good or bad you think your team is. Like, there's going to be some moments where you start to buy in again. There's going to be some moments when you seriously doubt it's a product of an 82-game season. And then the postseason is the most random in sports, which makes it electric and really, really fun because there is no, other than the NCAA tournament in men's and women's basketball, there's no greater chance for upset than in the NHL postseason. So whether all the work that they've done to put this team together is going to result and pay out the kind of dividends that they're looking for remains to be seen, but it starts tonight, and I'm excited. I have I would love to have a meaningful playoff run for the Preds in Nashville again, especially if the football season is going to kind of struggle the way that it feels like it might. We'll see what happens against the Colts. We talked about bailing water out of there that season. At this point, they're trying. They can do that. They can keep themselves alive in an AFC South that, beyond the Texans, feels like you can still pretty well jockey for position. But, I've got championship expectations for the Preds way more than I do the Vols or certainly the Titans right now. 615-737-1045 is how you join the conversation. Coming up next, we'll talk about the Heisman Watch. How much did the loss hurt Nico Iamaleava's odds, and who should be favored as the nation's best college football player and most likely the nation's best college football quarterback? There's some interesting candidates to take a look at. The odds have shifted around pretty substantially. I'm Buck Rising. It's 104.5 The Zone.
11 o'clock on the dot. Look at that. Good morning from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I'm Jackson Williams. The Titans' first injury report of the week came out yesterday as the team gets prepared for its first AFC South matchup of the season. Here is what it looks like for the Titans. Traylon Burks, Jamal Adams, and Keandre Coburn did not practice. Traylon Burks was for personal reason, non-injury related. DeAndre Hopkins, Jeffrey Simmons, and L'Jarius Sneed limited in practice yesterday. Sneed and Hopkins both on rest. Cedric Gray, Ernest Jones, and Will Levis were all full participants. For the Colts, Josh Downs, Michael Pittman, Trey Sermon, Braden Smith, Jonathan Taylor all did not practice, with Kenny Moore, Kwity Paye, and Anthony Richardson being limited. Around the NFL, Jets interim coach Jeff Ulbrich announced this morning that passing game coordinator and quarterbacks coach Todd Downing will take over the play calling duties. Downing last called plays for the Tennessee Titans in the 2022 season. Thursday night football tonight as the 49ers travel to Seattle to take on the Seahawks. You can catch Westwood One's coverage of that game right here on The Zone starting at 7 p.m. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, you need to visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Hour number 2 off and rolling on this Thursday. Thanks for hanging out here with us. We're happy to have you. Jackson and myself were with you till 1 o'clock. Lucas back from vacation on Monday. 615-737-1045, the number. Don't forget that J.C. Latham is going to join us at 11:35 today, the Titans rookie left tackle.
You booed me.
You deserved it.
Did not. How rare is it that we come in at 11:00:00?
I don't think it's ever happened.
Yeah, exactly.
I thought
look at that.
I thought you were doing like a musical thing. I thought you were doing 11 o'clock on the dot, the whole spiel. I thought you were trying to do a bit, so I booed you.
Nope, wasn't even trying to do a bit.
Okay, very good. You deserve booed. You deserve to be booed. I think more people should be publicly booed. I think that's okay. Like if for example, well, depending on who it is that you're interested in booing, maybe. If you see a professional athlete out in the street who is significantly bigger than you and you just decide to boo them, then you're probably going to be held responsible for whatever the results are after the fact. But I think more people should be publicly booed.
I'm going to start just publicly booing you, follow you around, and just boo.
That's fine. You wouldn't be the first.
Yes, I would. Nobody's that dedicated. Nobody cares enough.
I don't think that's true. I think there are plenty of people. I think there are plenty of people who are content to seek individuals out in their life and just follow them around and boo them. I think more people should be that dedicated. Anyway, Heisman Trophy, the odds have been completely upended by what was a crazy Week 6 in the world of college football. Have you watched many Boise State games yet?
I have watched them. Not consistently, but I catch their highlights pretty much every week. And this running back is insane.
And he is now your new Heisman Trophy favorite. He was up to 35-1. Ashton Jeanty is the name of the Boise State running back. He's absolutely electric. He is now the Heisman Trophy betting favorite at plus 225. Last week, he was plus 1,100. So the state of quarterbacking right now in college football, obviously not up to snuff to say that is definitively and obviously the best player in college football this year.
You want to hear his stats through, I believe it's 5 games?
I was getting ready to read them, but you go ahead.
95 carries, 1,031 yards, 16 touchdowns, not 60. But he might get there by the end of the year.
I mean, 16 in 5 games is crazy. It's crazy. 10.9. He is averaging 10.9 yards per carry. He's made Boise State must watch again, and it's been a while since that was the case. And Boise State, whether or not they're vying for a college football playoff spot at this point, we'll see what ultimately ends up happening to them, because he has been a really, really important part of how well they've started this season. The second place rusher is trailing him by 260 whole yards. If he continues on this kind of track, he might break both of Barry Sanders' single-season rushing records with 2,628 yards and 37 touchdowns. He might be the first running back to average over 12.2 yards per carry in a season. He has the potential to do all of these things, and he is now the Heisman Trophy favorite. Brandon Rushing adding more context to how excellent he has been. He says GT averages 8.3 yards per carry with an 8-man box. So they're running the Derrick Henry defensive playbook against him, and they still can't stop this dude. He set school records for rushing yards in a game, 259-yard performance against Washington State. He had 186 yards and 3 touchdowns against Utah State in Week 6 in just the first half. Craziness.
Well, I think he would have set the record Week 1 because he had 267 Week 1 with 6 touchdowns against Georgia Southern.
It's just unbelievable. Unbelievable what he's been able to accomplish at this point. He could be the first running back to win the Heisman since
Derrick Henry?
Derrick Henry in 2015. That is correct. So now you have also Travis Hunter, who's at plus 325. Last week he was plus 700. 30-1 after the second week of the season was Travis Hunter, and trending in the right direction as far as a non-quarterback winning the Heisman Trophy this year. Again, I don't know if it's sustainable. I think Colorado had a bye this week, right? They were off.
Yeah, they were off.
But he's been the best player in college football, offense and defense, playing both ways. He's played nearly every single snap at both wide receiver and at corner. You have to scroll for a little while before you get to the first quarterback on the board, who is Cameron Ward of Miami. So right now it's Ashton GT at plus 240 if you're looking at FanDuel. Travis Hunter plus 320, Cameron Ward plus 450. Jalen Milroe, after the loss to Alabama, drops to plus 900. And then you go Dylan Gabriel and Carson Beck to round that out.
Okay, real quick question on Travis Hunter. From an NFL perspective, how do you evaluate him? Do you evaluate him as a corner or a wide receiver? Do you let him pick? Do you let him try to play both?
So my position would be that he is built more like a corner at the NFL level. But he's good enough to try it at wide receiver. What's
specific packages? Like a Deion, like they did with Deion back in the 90s.
Yeah, I mean, then there's been more recent examples, right? They tried a Dory Jackson on offense here for a while under Mike Mularkey.
And that worked out swimmingly.
I mean, there were some mixed results. He was averaging like 5.5 yards per carry or something like that. I know it wasn't great, but still, he's a better offensive player than he was a punt returner. I'm still mad at Mike
That's what
Vrabel.
I'm thinking of when I thought of Dory Jackson.
just brutal. At the NFL level, he's probably best suited to play corner. But what's the biggest difference between corner and wide receiver at the NFL level, Jackson? Can you tell me?
No.
One position makes $30 million a year right now in the open market. And maybe he doesn't end up being Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chase or Amon-Ra St. Brown or A.J. Brown or any of these other guys, but you have a considerably better chance at a mega payday right now at wide receiver than you do corner. So I don't think that the finances are irrelevant in that. I think he would want to be drafted as a wide receiver, given what the wide receiver market looks like. But I mean, I guess we'll find out once the season ends, right? He's just listed as an athlete right now. He'll probably go into the combine as an athlete. He'll get different kinds of evaluations to tell him or to advise him on which position he would be best equipped to succeed at. So I think he looks like a corner to me, but he can play wide receiver well enough that I don't think the argument for him at the next level as a wide receiver is null and void.
Do you think if he chooses wide receiver, his draft stock falls? Not a ton, but a little bit, maybe a few slots.
Yes, and that's less about him than it is about how crowded wide receiver is, just generally, year after year. There are so many high-level wide receivers that the college football process puts in the league nowadays. It's not like, I mean, I know that's easy to say for if you're talking about from a league-wide perspective where Titans fans are tortured because they drafted the most talented wide receiver the franchise has ever known and then traded him away for a bag of beans and Traylon Burks. So there's still a little bit of a bitter sticking point to that, and Titans fans looking around and being like, if it was so easy to get one of these wide receivers, we'd have one by now. Yeah, I know. There's some mitigating circumstances to that. But there does seem, like by volume, doesn't wide receiver seem to be one of the most populated positions in the draft anymore? When we're talking about like percentage of like how many good wide receivers there are. Running back took a dip this year. Offensive linemen are damn hard to find. Quarterback, obviously. I know you had 6 go in the first round this year, but how big was the gulf between who was the last quarterback taken in the first round? Was that Nix? Bo Nix went 12?
Yes, I believe so.
And then what was it? I mean, I'd have to go back and refresh my memory on the draft order, but it was like until round 4 or 5 before another quarterback was taken between the first round and day 3. It was at least between day 1 and day 3. I don't think that there was any quarterbacks that went on day 2. If memory fails me, if I've forgotten that, I'm sure the F&M Bank chat will remind me or we'll get a call reminding me as well. But I think that with Travis Hunter, it would hurt his draft stock. I just think that's because wide receiver is super saturated every year at this point. 615-737-1045 is the number. We're going to get into the Titans injury report and some NFL headlines here in just a second. Carrie B on YouTube, where you can also interact with the show, says, don't know if you discussed this, but did you see Titans legend Todd Downing will call plays for the Jets? I did, in fact, see that. So Robert Saleh demoted the Jets coach who was fired. By the way, Diana Rossini, who's based out of New York, well, based out of New Jersey, but covers the Jets very, very closely as a part of her duties as the senior NFL insider for The Athletic. She was all over the Robert Saleh stuff. Her perspective on that is going to be interesting because I'm also going to ask her about a Jets player that I think the Titans should trade for. But the reports were that Saleh planned to demote Nathaniel Hackett from offensive play caller and give his play calling duties to Todd Downing. So after he makes that decision, again, there's been some conflicting reports on the timeline. But after apparently he makes that call, he very soon thereafter gets a call from Woody Johnson, the Jets owner, informing him that he's fired. And there are people that are saying that he was escorted out of the building by security and that he was blindsided by the thing. Did you watch Rodgers on McAfee? Because he went on McAfee the day after it happened.
Did not.
He's saying he had no knowledge of the situation. Reckless speculation, please. Yeah, I don't believe him.
Me neither.
Respectfully. I just really don't believe that.
Him and the owner talked the night before.
Yeah. It's, again, conflicting reports. I don't know what is 100% true in this situation. I'm willing to believe all of it, though, because it's a mess. Like, there's so many people trying to get their side of the story out that I think that all of these sources are in fact, accurate. There's just some that are conflicting, and some people are taking their information from people who are trying to save face, it would seem, inside that burning building. But yes, Todd Downing is going to take over as the play caller, even though the Jets have fired their coach. So that is, it's something. Jets, man. Poverty franchise. All right, Titans injury report. What's the latest you need to know, and what injury is most concerning on the Titans roster right now? We'll also get into some headlines or phone calls, too. I'm Buck Rising. It's 104.5 The Zone. Welcome back to the show. We are fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken. I'm told we have breaking Preds news. All right, so the Nashville Predators are beginning their 2024-2025 season tonight. They're at home against the Dallas Stars. In net will not be UC Saros, who experienced a lower body injury in the Preds' last preseason game. Alex Doherty of the Tennessean is reporting that Scott Wedgwood is starting for the Preds in net this evening. He was signed to be the backup this year in the offseason. He'll open the season against his old team, the Dallas Stars. Apparently, he was first off the ice in practice, which Alex notes is usually an indicator of the starter. And Alex has since confirmed that Wedgwood will indeed be the starter. So, do you watch Preds preseason?
No.
I can't say that I ever have. So the analysis that I'm reading now comes from Predlines.com, and it is headlined, "How high should concern level be over Scott Wedgwood's preseason for the Nashville Predators?" In 3 preseason appearances, he failed to register a save percentage above 80. So yes, that is obviously concerning. He's had quality years. He was good with the Stars in 2021 and 2022 after he came over from the New Jersey Devils. Back-to-back seasons where he was around 91 as his save percentage before dipping back to 89.9 in the backup role to Jake, is it Ottinger last season? I always struggle with the hockey last names. Either way, they were 2-3-0 in their preseason situation after Saturday's home loss to the Carolina Hurricanes. This was a couple of days ago. And in his 3 preseason starts, he is being described as abysmal. Save percentages of .750, .733, and .739. So,
Got to think about the players in front of him.
Well, that's fair. Because I don't know. I can't give you analysis of NHL preseason. I'd be flatly lying to you if I tried. So I'm not going to, overreact to that. But obviously a save percentage south of 800 is concerning at any point. Because if he's playing against backups and playing with backups, then fair to expect that he's facing some players in backup or reserve roles, and so it's not the stiffest competition out there for Scott Wedgwood. We'll find out, I guess, tonight. Preds and Stars, 7 p.m. at Bridgestone Arena. John Eccles on YouTube says, hammer the over goals in the Preds game.
Especially because he played on the Stars for multiple years. They know his strengths and weaknesses better than anybody.
Yeah, that goals over. Feeling like a pretty safe bet tonight. We'll see.
This is because you said you were going. This is because you said you were going.
No. You can't put that on me and then say you're not superstitious. No. I refuse to accept blame for that. The season haven't even started yet. It's only bad luck when I'm physically in the building. I haven't gone to Bridgestone Arena yet. I haven't been to Bridgestone since No, it's been since the SEC tournament. I saw a Glass Animals concert at Bridgestone not that long ago. It was a couple months ago. So the bad juju has since been evaporated out of the building. You can't put that on me. Don't you dare. So no UC Saros in net. Scott Wedgwood, the starting goaltender. Alex Doherty with that report. Titans injuries. Speaking of injuries, a couple noteworthy ones, and I'm curious to know which ones the audience are most concerned about at this point. Let's just look at the Colts really quickly. They are down tremendous. We'll see whether Josh Downs, their starting slot receiver, ends up playing. He did not practice yesterday with a toe. Michael Pittman is expected to miss this game. He's their top wide receiver with a back injury. Neither running back was a full participant in practice. In fact, neither running back practiced yesterday. Trey Sermon dealing with a collarbone. Jonathan Taylor dealing with an ankle injury. They put Will Fries, one of their starting guards, on injured reserve. They put a starting corner on injured reserve as well. Anthony Richardson was limited in practice, as was Kwity Paye. Richardson dealing with that oblique injury. Ryan Kelly is expected to be back, their starting center for this game. Then you have the Titans, who have a longer injury report than they have in the first couple of weeks. Jamal Adams, DNP with a hip. What do people have any expectation of him? I mean, is he just a warm body in the locker room?
Pretty much at this point in his career.
He hadn't done anything but miss a tackle, right? Like miss the tackle.
He's made a few tackles.
He's
been in there.
I mean, he's had one bone crushing hit that I can remember. I want to say it was against Green Bay, but like there have been few and far between memorable plays that Jamal Adams has made. And again, I had zero expectation that he was going to be any kind of a difference maker on defense when I saw what his salary was. It's clear to me that they also did not have high expectations for him to come in here and make an impact on that defense. Traylon Burks had a baby, so him and his wife, congratulations to the Burks family. He was not at practice yesterday as a result. Then you have Keandre Coburn, who may be an injured reserve candidate. He's missing time with a knee. Hopkins, Simmons, and L'Jarius Sneed all did not practice with rest days. Cedric Gray, who was officially designated to return from injured reserve, so you get some increased linebacker depth. We'll see if they activate him before Sunday. He was a full participant. Ernest Jones has an elbow injury. He was a full participant, and Will Levis did everything at practice yesterday dealing with that shoulder. Is Jeff the most concerning one, even more so than the quarterback?
Yes, just because of the mystery surrounding it.
So it's not any mystery surrounding the injury, although it's taken us a couple of times talking to Jeff to get a clear answer from him, it feels like, on what he did. He said he fully tore his UCL. That's what he told us yesterday. He's saying that he doesn't need to have surgery to correct it in season. Now, maybe he'll have an off-season surgery to correct it. I know that is the Tommy John surgery injury. I don't know how different. I mean, fair to expect that a pitcher and a defensive lineman have significantly different uses of their elbow. But I don't know how he plays with a fully torn ligament in his elbow for the rest of the season. And how they're even gonna try and ramp him up, how you test out whether he's gonna have sufficient power. Like when he goes to punch an offensive lineman in the chest, like two-hand shock and shed type of stuff, is that gonna diminish his power if he doesn't have full strength in his elbow? Or does it impact the level of power that he has in his elbow? Whether it's a mobility thing, I'm not a medical expert, obviously, so I wouldn't pretend to guess on all that. All I know is he continues to miss time to rest it. And he says that he's going to be ready to play against the Colts, provided that they let him out there. So he hasn't been special yet this season, Jeff Simmons. He's been good. He's been effective. He's helped take attention away from other guys that have allowed them to make plays. Obviously, the first game that he missed was Miami this year. And we'll see how much more time, if any, he misses this year. But given the state of the Titans' pass rush, or lack thereof, Jeff would be the more concerning one to me. Because I can't do anything about Will Levis's decision-making. And I guess I can't do anything about Jeff's elbow injury either if I'm a Titans fan looking at this and being like, all right, quarterback who I don't trust, dealing with a shoulder, a sprained AC joint on his throwing shoulder, or best player on the football team and an elbow injury that may diminish pretty significantly how well he's able to do his job. I mean, the right answer should be the quarterback, but I can't help but think that Jeff is more important there. R. Johnson, hopefully I'm saying that correctly, on YouTube says, that requires surgery if he fully tore it. Well, does it require surgery in season, I guess? Maybe, again, he has surgery at the end of the year to repair it, but he's saying right now that he is not going to need surgery at this point, so that would not cause him to miss additional time or have an injured reserve stint. 615-737-1045 is how you join the conversation. Is it Will here, Jackson? All right, let's go to Will. Fade him up if you would, Jackson. Hey, Bob.
Hey, how's it going?
Good.
Good. Yeah. So Shohei Ohtani, he tore his UCL. That's why he wasn't able to pitch all year. But obviously, he was able to play offense and hit 56 home runs and best player in Major League Baseball a year.
Sure.
Obviously, Jeff Simmons and Shohei are two different sports, two different guys. But, like you said, it's not a starting pitcher. It's not like it's Will Levis towards the ACL or UCL. So I think in-season surgery won't be a big deal, or not having in-season surgery will be a big deal. Probably can wait till after the year. And like I said, Shohei, he dominated, so I don't see why Big Jeff can't go out there and smash people's faces in just like Shohei did.
Well, if you're a Titans fan, you certainly hope that's the case. Speaking of smashing people's faces in, we'll talk to another guy who does it for a living. J.C. Latham, Titans left tackle, will join us coming up next. Welcome back to the show. We are fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken. J.C. Latham, Titans left tackle, going to join us here in just a little bit. 615-737-1045 is how you can join in the conversation. In the meantime, whether you want to talk Titans and Colts upcoming, whether you want to talk about this coming college football weekend, we're obviously going to ask JC about the Vanderbilt loss for his alma mater, Alabama. Everywhere else, it seems, but Nashville or Middle Tennessee, it's being talked about, well, what happened to Alabama as opposed to Vanderbilt going out and winning that game. It's almost the Titans complex, right? When the Titans beat an opponent that they're not favored to beat. What's the conversation always? Well, what's wrong with the Chiefs? Why did they lose to the Titans? What's wrong with the Bengals? Why did they lose to the Titans? But Vandy is experiencing a lot of the same this weekend, and I should have thought to ask Levis about this yesterday. You know who Vanderbilt has upcoming? They have Kentucky.
The Wildcats.
They do. They're on the road in Lexington. It's a 6:45 p.m. kickoff. Kentucky is not ranked, but they're solid.
They have a good defense. It's going to be interesting to see how Diego Pavia and the Vanderbilt offense performs against the Kentucky defense.
Kentucky's favored. Vandy is riding the high of the Alabama win. The question is, so is this a trap game? Does Vandy do we get to talk about Vandy having trap games now? Like having beaten legitimate competition and then trying to, make sure that they don't drop the ball the way that Alabama did after the Georgia win?
I don't think we're there yet.
Not yet? Okay.
Not yet.
That's fine. It's exciting though. I like expectations. I like a pulse. It's so good to see a pulse from the football program on West End.
What a roller coaster of emotions it must be, losing to Georgia State and then beating Alabama.
Probably not. This is why you play the games, because you have no idea what these results are going to be, no matter how much time you spend preparing for them. So, Vandy at Kentucky this weekend. We'll see if Texas is also coming to West End here in the not-too-distant future, October 26th. They're currently the number one team in the country after Alabama dropped 6 spots after that loss. But I don't know what Vanderbilt is. I just genuinely have no idea how Vanderbilt is going to finish this season. But I wonder how much. I mean, there's no Vanderbilt players on the Titans roster, right? Gabe Judy-Lally was there for a hot second.
Is he not on the P squad still?
No, he's there, but I'm saying, like, that's the guy. Like, is Gabe Judy-Lally going to go around talking smack to all the Alabama players because he was at Vanderbilt for...
Well, he finished at Tennessee.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Like, his allegiances are kind of split there, and he probably claims more... I don't know what he claims more between Tennessee or Vandy, but still. Dixie on YouTube says, I'm just so sad that this is Pavia's last year of eligibility. Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate. Did you see the way that they surprised Diego Pavia on SportsCenter?
Yeah, they brought Johnny Manziel out.
Do you have that?
I do not, because
it's not bleeped.
It's not bleeped, and I tried to bleep it, and he just keeps it's a very extended S word.
Oh, really?
It's like shoot.
Shiano. What, you thought I was going to do it, didn't you?
I did. I hurried to the dump button.
The fear in your eyes. That was delightful. So, just quickly, bouncing back and forth between college and pro before J.C. Latham joins us. He has been one of the NFL's best rookies in one particular area. Now, I mean, I don't think you would describe the Titans' offensive line overwhelmingly as a bright spot, right? It's been poor. They've got an open competition, it seems, at right tackle week after week after week. And there really hasn't been a lot. Maybe you get, you're encouraged by Lloyd Cushenberry. I think he's going to end up being better than ultimately he's shown. I think that he needs to have more consistency on either side of him for this unit to realize the potential that it has, because I do think it has potential, but I think that's one thing that Titans fans are most tired of hearing about is the idea of potential and football players. Latham has not underwhelmed. I know a lot of people after the first couple of weeks were like, oh, Damn Mike Vrabel for beating the Dolphins and the Jaguars and costing us the opportunity to draft Joe Alt. Well, Alt has been solid, and I know Alt has dealt with some injury as well. Latham's been really, really good, especially when it comes to one metric that Pro Football Focus has. It's a newer stat, and it's called anchor rate, which measures how well offensive linemen handle bull rush from opponents. A couple of weeks ago on PFF, they introduced the metric. It measures how the offensive lineman faces a bull rush and how often they come out on top. Latham, in particular, is excelling really, really well. He has been bull rushed 16 times. He has not lost one single individual battle when being bull rushed as a rookie offensive lineman. Now, he's been beaten by pass rush moves. He's given up pressures. He hasn't been perfect. He hasn't been the best left tackle in football or anything like that. Fair to expect that it's going to take a little longer for Titans fans to fully trust him, maybe just to fully trust the offensive line, and maybe even if you have one player that's playing well, but four players who are underwhelming or not meeting your expectation, then it's a little easier to ignore the one guy who's pulling his weight. But he is tied for third in the NFL in that category with Rashawn Slater and Chris Lindstrom, who are two quality players, two veteran players, after being picked by the Titans with the 7th overall pick this year. It's the youngest starting offensive line in football, the Titans. And they're still trying to get the best out of that group as a whole. We talked to NPF in the locker room yesterday. We also talked to Leroy Watson, who was called up from the practice squad and is going to split snaps this week, split practice reps this week. I think that ultimately, I would be shocked if Nicholas Petit-Frere isn't the starter. Bill Callahan knew Leroy Watson coming over from Cleveland. They acquired him via trade, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, they traded a 7th, I believe. They
did trade a pick for Leroy Watson. So this is a known commodity, and he didn't make the active roster. John Ojukwu made the active roster over him. So, if Leroy Watson ends up starting at right tackle, it's because somehow Nicholas Petit-Frere has gotten worse. And I know he hasn't been good, but I don't know if we're seeing him be appreciably worse than we've seen him be across the course of his career. They're still optimistic about the situation being correctable. You saw how much better they were as a group. And I struggle with this because the Dolphins do have some good defensive players, but it's not the best defensive front in football. Titans protected well, though. Protected well enough. Mason Rudolph also helped them a lot by how much quicker he gets rid of the ball, how much quicker he makes decisions than Levis does. So it went from 8 sacks against the Packers to 1 sack against the Dolphins. I think that for Levis, it's as incumbent upon him to try and help out this offensive line as it is the offensive line to go out there and do their jobs. It's multi-layered. It's layered in the way that you can help offensive linemen if you know that you're not going to be good in pass protection. And the real answer to this is they need to run the football. They need to run the football. They need to have a more efficient play-action passing game. They need to be able to capitalize on what this group does well, even if that's reverting to the Derrick Henry playbook to an extent and having to run against loaded boxes, because then you're just trying to go out there and get the opponent to try and stop you. This offensive line was drafted specifically to be a bunch of certified ass kickers, and I think they can do that in the run game. We've seen them do that in the run game. If you want any redeeming qualities to what you've seen from the group as a whole, they're really good at moving people out of the way, at reestablishing the line of scrimmage, of the violent real estate acquisition that is running the football at the NFL level. And yeah, you like the explosive plays, you like the big gains by Tony Pollard when you get them from time to time, but it's about the consistency of running the football for 4 yards, for 5 yards, for 7 yards on a gain to keep that rush honest, to be able to set up your screen game, to be able to set up your play action game. There's so many different things that leaning into your strengths right now, and we've seen them try to lean into their strengths, and their run game definitely has Bill Callahan vibes, handprints all over it. But I think there's a lot of this stuff that this team can correct. And I think the Dolphins, the way that they played against the Dolphins, even though it was a bit constipated and dink and dunk, paper cut, whatever you want to call it. There is some strategy there that will help keep this offensive line in the best possible position to succeed while they get up to speed or while they get up to a certain standard on how it is that they need to operate in the passing game. Lonzo Wright says you can't run the ball more than passing. We need to modernize our offense. Why? Everybody else is running the football with volume. I mean, you're not the Ravens. The Ravens, what makes the Ravens special right now is, one, they're helping Derrick Henry not get hit at the line of scrimmage more than any point in the last 5 years of Derrick Henry's career, which is getting the best version of Derrick Henry that we've seen in the last 5 years, which, by the way, includes the 2,000-yard season. And the second part of that is Lamar Jackson can beat you from the pocket. Lamar was excellent on Sunday against the Bengals. Bengals could have won the game. Kicker misses a field goal at the end. Derrick Henry breaks a long one, 51 yards, to set them up for the game-winning field goal in overtime. But you can absolutely lean on your rushing attack if it's the thing that you do best and if you're efficient enough at it. Now, I'm not saying that you have to go out there and exclusively run the ball or run the ball 30 or 40 times a game. Nobody's saying that. But, like, if you're talking about modernizing your offense, modernizing your offense just means to be more efficient. I don't care how you get there. Yes, is passing the ball more efficient, a more efficient way of getting explosive plays, a more efficient way of staying ahead of the sticks? Yes. Is it an easier thing to do, physically easier on the bodies than, having the offensive line get into a car wreck every play and just trying to outmuscle NFL opponents week after week after week? That can take a toll. But you should run the ball against the Colts. The Colts are one of the worst run defenses in football. They are the worst defense in terms of total yardage. I mean, if Levis plays a game, like when was Tannehill at his best? When they're throwing when Tannehill is attempting 20 or less passes a game.
But it's for 220-something yards.
Even then, Tannehill would have a 12 of 17 for 180 a couple of times. He'd have 2 touchdowns and maybe have a passing touchdown, a rushing touchdown. That works. I'm good with that. Modernizing your offense doesn't mean that you have to fully go to the passing game. And by the way, that's not what the Bengals as an offense under Brian Callahan and Zach Taylor were. They would run the football efficiently because they would spread defenses out. You have the threat of your passing game, but you have these 3 wide receiver sets that don't allow the defense to crowd the box the way that teams were able to do against Derrick Henry. And then if they do cheat up, when they do try to stop the run, then you beat them over the top. So it is very much a part of the Bengals defense or Bengals offensive DNA that you went out and acquired this offseason to run the football and to run the football well and to run the football efficiently. The problem right now is you don't have a passing game that teams respect, so it becomes that much harder to try and run the football the way that you want to or the way that they would with Joe Mixon, for example, when they had Joe Mixon and Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and the rest of them. Jared Puffer from Titans PR just texted me and said J.C. Latham's running a little behind. So, Jackson, what do you think we should do here? Should we take a break early and set ourselves up for J.C. Latham? Because Diana Rossini's at 12:20.
Probably.
Okay. We'll take a quick break. J.C. Latham will join us coming up next. I'm Buck Rising. It's 104.5 The Zone. Hey, it's Buck Rising. Have you ever wondered about the quality of your drinking water? With a Brita Pro filtration system from Benjamin Franklin Plumbing, you'll enjoy fresh, pure-tasting water straight from your tap. No more worrying about what's in it. It's clean, great-tasting hydration for your whole family all day, every day. And it's not just about what you drink. Hard water can cause unsightly stains on your faucets and fixtures and damage your appliances. But with a Brita Pro water softener, you can eliminate that annoying mineral buildup, extend the life of your water heater and dishwasher, and keep everything looking and working great. With the holiday season fast approaching, now's the perfect time to ensure your plumbing system is in tip-top shape. Protect your home from potential costly repairs before guests arrive with Benjamin Franklin Plumbing. They have you covered. Visit BenjaminFranklinPlumbing.com to learn more and get a quote today.
It is 11:57. Good morning from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I'm Jackson Williams. The Titans' first injury report of the week came out yesterday as the team gets prepared for its first AFC South matchup of the season against the Colts. And here's what it looks like. Jamal Adams, Traylon Burks, and Keandre Coburn all did not practice. Traylon Burks was for a personal reason. DeAndre Hopkins, Jeffrey Simmons, and L'Jarius Sneed all limited, with Hopkins and Sneed being due to rest, while Cedric Gray, Ernest Jones, and Will Levis were all full participants. For the Colts, Josh Downs, Michael Pittman, Trey Sermon, Braden Smith, and Jonathan Taylor all did not practice for the Colts. Kenny Moore, Kwity Paye, and Anthony Richardson were limited, while Ryan Kelly was a full participant. Around the NFL, interim coach for the Jets, Jeff Ulbrich, announced this morning the passing game coordinator and quarterbacks coach Todd Downing will take over play calling duties, downing last call plays for the Tennessee Titans in the 2022 season. Thursday Night Football tonight as the 49ers travel to Seattle to take on the Seahawks. You can catch Westwood One's coverage of that game right here on The Zone starting at 7 p.m. For your foundation, repair, and waterproofing needs, you need to visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Welcome into the final hour, or just about 40 seconds away from the final hour of today's show. We're happy to have you. We're going to jam-pack it. J.C. Latham is going to join us here in a couple of minutes from now. Diana Rossini of The Athletic is going to give us her insights from the league, around the league, how people are talking about specifically the Titans, Will Levis, and whether a trade might be a viable situation to help improve this football team's fortunes as they get ready for one of the more difficult stretches of their 2024 season. We're happy to have you here on this Thursday. 615-737-1045 is the number. If you want to jump in, you can do so there. If you want to interact on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch, you are also welcome to participate there if that is your preferred method of communication. Jackson and I are with you until 1 o'clock, like I mentioned. And we have a couple of different things that are worth diving into. Maybe something that I guess I'll save for the Diana part of the discussion, because I'm interested in this Titans defense for a couple of different reasons. I've mentioned the past couple of days, I don't think their defensive success right now is sustainable because they don't have a successful pass rush. They don't have an effective pass rush. They're not consistently getting to quarterbacks. And it's not just about the sacks. Counting stats are fine. Counting stats are all well and good, but they're not consistently affecting the quarterback. That was a problem for them against Malik Willis in particular. They weren't really pressuring Tyler Huntley as much as they were stopping the run, and Tyler Huntley had time to deliver passes to Dolphins wide receivers. He just wasn't able to be accurate and hit them in stride and take advantage of what Tyreek Hill or Jalen Waddle or any of their other skill players were able to produce. So this is something to keep an eye on, because now the competition gets better. It's not that the Colts are a significantly better team than, well, I mean, if Flacco was to play, then they are a significantly better team than the teams that they faced to date. But it doesn't sound like Joe Flacco is penciled in as the starter this week. It sounds like Anthony Richardson, dealing with that oblique injury, is going to give everything in his power to see if he can't go. But the thing that stands out to me about playing the Colts in Week 6, going to Buffalo in Week 7, and going to Detroit in Week 8 is that depending on what Jeff Simmons is able to produce, these are the three best interior offensive line groups that the Titans will play on the year. Now, the thing that makes Sweat so much fun is that, one, he's just a mountain of a human being. Two, he showed the ability and the speed, the quickness to potentially bring some pass rush to the table. Now, it's not really shown itself just yet. He's excellent at stuffing out the run. He's a really, really difficult man to try and stop, but it's not paid dividends in their pass rush just yet. They need Jeff Simmons to come back, either to attract attention, to give other guys opportunities to beat blocks one-on-one, and to really give this thing some juice. So we'll get into that with Diana Rossini of The Athletic, whether she thinks a potentially trading for a player to beef that unit up might be viable or not. But in the meantime, J.C. Latham, Titans left tackle, joins us now on 104.5 The Zone. Welcome back to the show, big man.
How you doing? How you doing?
Man, I'm good. I'm chilling. How are you? How is the Alabama fan base? I've never seen as many Vanderbilt fans in my life in 9 years of living in Nashville, JC, as I have this last week.
Yeah, it was a crazy weekend. Yeah.
I can't imagine. So I really appreciated what you were saying on social media afterwards about Jalen Milroe, because it's very quick to have knee-jerk reactions for especially people like me, loudmouths with platforms and microphones and stuff like that, without really understanding what it is goes into a week of preparation, what it is that each player brings to the table, and how it is that you guys are asked to execute the job. It wasn't. Jalen Milroe is one of the most spectacular players in college football this year. What point were you trying to get across to people about the way that he played in that game?
Yeah, I mean, basically, I feel like he played a pretty good game. I wasn't able to catch all of it because we were coming off the bye, so we were coming back home from where we were. But I mean, I know he played great. He had areas that he could definitely improve in. I know, he's pretty hard on himself, looking at ways to improve. And I mean, as a leader should, he's definitely just trying to find ways to keep climbing and get his team back rallied together.
And that's not something that should be at all questioned based on what he's been able to put on tape. I mean, how many times has he wowed you on the field? Because he seems like he's really starting to become more well-rounded the position. Obviously, all of you guys have great talent, whether you play high-level Division I football, whether you make it to the pros the way that he certainly expects to at the next level. But how much better have you seen him get?
I mean, yeah, I've seen him night and day. I mean, every single year, he's been there. He's always steadily improved. I knew his potential was through the roof just because when we got there our freshman year, and we see him in practice, he'd be launching the ball all the way down the field, and then whenever he would scramble, no one can catch up to him, and if you did, you had to bring him down. So he's already bigger than most guys out there, especially running the ball as a quarterback. So. I mean, yeah, you have a great combination, and I knew once he figured it out mentally, I mean, it was basically over with, and going into that sophomore year, my last year, when I was a junior, going into that sophomore year, his first year starting, I really got a chance to see, everything that he was capable of doing and everything that he was able to do. So, just seeing him play his highest level of football this year, I'm really proud of him.
Titans left tackle J.C. Latham is our guest here on 104.5 The Zone. Coming up next is the Indianapolis Colts at Nissan Stadium. Titans get back at home and the first AFC South divisional game of the year. You got your first NFL win as a team on the season, J.C. It was cool to hear you guys celebrating in the locker room before Callahan came in and had to deal with us in the press conference. How gratifying was it to see the way that you guys rallied despite injuries and adversity that appeared in that game to ultimately go on and pull off a pretty decisive win there?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a good feeling. We got our first win of the year, but I mean, by no means was it satisfying or a sign of relief. I mean, we as a team know our expectations and the standard that we want to play to. So, we set out every day just to always find ways to get better. And, being 0-3 and not having a win was, a lot of people can point fingers and a lot of people can say, whatever they got to or want to say about us or whatever the case may be. But, we have to rally together as a team and, stay together, because that's a lot of the times where teams try to, split us up and divide us. So, yeah, I mean, that's what we did. We kept the goal the same as far as just steadily improving. So, seeing the scheme come to fruition and seeing it work, was definitely something that we enjoyed doing. We just look to improve on that going into this week.
A week 5 bye isn't, always the best. You want it a little later in case injuries pop up, and it gives you a little opportunity to get healthy down the stretch. But could it be beneficial for you guys as, you get through this as so many new different pieces and parts, new offense, all these different things. And I don't know how much self-scouting goes on during the bye, but just to give you kind of an opportunity to take a breath, reset, and come back to try and figure out, all right, here's our bread and butter stuff. Here's what we can improve upon. Here's what we know we can do well right now.
Yeah, it definitely gives us a chance to really get ourselves together. We were 0-3. 1-3 going into the bye. So, we got a chance to really just sit back and really just look at it and see what's going on and really have a chance to just take our mind away from it for a little bit, but also not too far to where, we don't know the issues that's going on and all that stuff. So, I'm a rookie, so I can't sit up here and say a bye week 5 was, the best thing out. So I don't know how it feels to play late in the year,
sure,
and making a playoff run. But just for the unique situation of our team being, 1-3, just having the chance to really just regroup mentally. I think it was a good opportunity for us.
Where the last time we had you on was training camp, and obviously things are new. Things are still moving very, very fast during training camp. But you've played a lot of football in your career. I know it was a lot of time spent talking about, he's moving to right tackle, left tackle. All that stuff's gone by the wayside because obviously you can handle yourself on the left side. It's been cool to see how much better you've gotten, and I know it's not about individual performance, but there has to be some kind of gratification, JC, for you, saying, okay, week 1 may not have gone the best for us as a unit or for me as an individual, but as I continue to work with this, as I continue to buy into the coaching and all that kind of stuff, to see what you're capable of achieving at the highest level.
Yeah, it's definitely, you can control what you can control, at the end of the day. Being offensive lineman, specifically a tackle, you definitely want to create issues in the run game for defenses to try to adjust to, but also in the pass protection and just keep the guy away from the quarterback. That's the best thing that you can. That's the only thing that you can really do, as far as everything goes. So that's my job, and that's why I got drafted for it and got paid for it. So, I'm here to do that to my best of ability, and always find ways to improve.
What felt like was the difference from, and I know they're two different opponents and two different kind of defensive fronts, but Green Bay, obviously, there's a fair amount of sacks in that game, and you go on, and I think it was only one time that Mason got brought down in the Miami game. What kind of felt like the difference for you guys as a unit to ensure that you didn't have another performance like Green Bay?
Mainly, you look at it, we just weren't technically sound, in that Green Bay game. Wasn't technically sound, wasn't, doing what we had to do as an offense as a whole to click and find rhythm. And, didn't do a good job at trying to complement our defense and helping them out. So, I think, in that Miami game, we did a great job at just feeding off each other's energy. Defense gets a couple turnovers, couple stops. Offense, we try to go in the drive with points, and we just try to keep that rhythm going. It makes it, you're almost playing 2 different games if, the offense can't do something, but the defense is getting all the stop. Our defense is getting all the stops, So, I think we did a great job in that Miami game to really complement one another. But in the Packer game, we didn't do as good of a job.
I know you're going to have all kinds of different matchups and different kinds of players to go up each and every week. Everybody's got good edge rushers in the NFL. Everybody's got good tackles in the NFL. But Latu, that seems like a really, really fun or at least fun from the audience's standpoint, competitive matchup opportunity for you guys that we could see for the next couple of years. And I know you're looking forward to going against Will Anderson with the Texans, former teammate. But what stands out about Latu in particular for a defense that, is still trying to get their feet under them as well, but a really, really talented rookie like yourself?
Yeah, he's a technician, he's a master of his craft. He's really explosive. He's a bigger edge rusher. He has all the potential in the world, so it's exciting to go against somebody like that. And, he's in my division, so, I'll see him definitely a couple more times. I know we play him again later on in the year, and I'll definitely see him, again as the seasons go on. But it's always exciting going against high-level competition like him on a week-to-week basis.
Titans are back at home in Week 6. They're hosting the Indianapolis Colts. You can hear it right here on 104.5 The Zone. J.C. Latham has been kind enough to give us some of his time today. I appreciate you stopping by again, boss, and continued health and success this season.
Of course. Thank you.
That's J.C. Latham with us on 104.5 The Zone. I saw some comments while we were talking to J.C. on the YouTube chat, Jackson, where people are commenting about he sounds a bit annoyed. I would say good. I would hope that he would be annoyed at 1-3. This is a player who comes from one of the best, if not the best, college football programs in the country. He's never gone 0-3 in his career. I'm certain that he's not been 1-3 very many times, if ever, in his career. It should be palpable. The fact that, and I loved his answer about, I kind of set him up to talk about the first win of the season, and he instead took it in the direction of, well, of course we're not satisfied because we were 0-3 before that. That's exactly the kind of player that you want up front, trying to go out there and cave somebody's face in on Sunday. That's exactly what he's done. So I'm not that, maybe it doesn't make for the best radio interview, and not that JC was bad or anything like that. That's not what I'm saying at all. But if you feel like he sounded annoyed, and maybe it's because I started off talking about the Vandy thing.
Yeah, I think we should have eased in.
Should I have eased in? Was that not the best approach? I don't know. I thought maybe not as celebratory in Tuscaloosa the way that it has been in Nashville all week. So I get that a little bit. He's probably caught all kinds of hell. But I would want him to be annoyed. I would expect them all to be annoyed. That's why I kind of get, like when Brian Callahan said, well, we practiced like a 3-0 team before they had their first win of the season. It kind of bothered me a little bit because 3-0 teams should probably carry themselves a little differently than 0-3 teams. I need discontent. Not to the point where there's, like he said, finger pointing or anything like that, but I want dudes to be annoyed. I want dudes to be angry. I want dudes to be hungry for that next opportunity to go out there and try and do it again, to try and disprove whatever narratives have been created. And there's plenty of narratives about them right now. So, speaking of narratives, nobody has better information on league-wide narratives than Diana Rossini of The Athletic. She's going to join us, the senior NFL insider, coming up next. Welcome back to the show. We are fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken. 615-737-1045 is how you jump in at any point. We'd be happy to have you. Diana Rossini, senior NFL insider for The Athletic, will join us here in just a little bit. So we're going to go across the league with Diana. We'll also ask her what she's heard specifically about quarterbacks, Will Levis in particular, what the vibe is right now around the viability of him moving forward. We talked to Cam Wolfe about this. I guess this was Tuesday after or before I went on vacation after the Monday Night Football game against Miami. And I think it was Lucas asked Cam a good question about which team between the Titans or the Colts would be more likely to pull or continue to sit their second-year quarterback, given that both of them are having struggles, not the same kind of struggles, but are struggling, whether it's Richardson, whether it's Levis. And Cam's answer, well, was in his estimation, obviously, Tennessee, because Richardson is the 4th overall pick. There's going to be a lot more time and effort and energy expended on him than it would be for a second-round player like Will Levis, especially with the new coaching staff coming in and all of the different reasons why that might make him slightly more expendable than a guy like Richardson. So I'd be curious to get her feedback on that as well, and whether or not that has any bearing on the conversation, given that the former 1st overall pick in Bryce Young got benched in after week 2? Week 2 is when Bryce Young got sat down by the Carolina Panthers?
He played the week 2 game.
He played the week 2 game and then got benched afterwards.
Yeah, like on Tuesday.
Yeah, and then Andy Dalton comes in and has a 300-plus yard, 3 passing touchdown game, and it looks great. I also want to get her perspective on trade acquisitions, potential trade acquisitions that this team might be able to make. Now, you might say, well, they're 1-3. What are you talking about them making trades? Shouldn't they be talking about more selling? And I would say it's too early for the selling portion of the conversation. And this Colts game would determine a lot as to whether they're going to be able to continue to try and push for a wild card spot behind the Texans right now. But there's a really strange situation in the NFL that's been documented at length all season long. It's one of the stranger situations I can remember, and it's also coming out of the New York Jets organization. So Hassan Reddick has been in a holdout with the Jets because he wants a new contract. Now, he got traded to New York this offseason. He hasn't been with the team at all since being traded to New York, and it's caused issues with the locker room. The Jets are obviously missing a key piece of their defensive unit. He's a really, really effective pass rusher where it comes to impacting the quarterback, gets sacks, gets pressures, gets quarterback hits, gets hurries. And now they've fired Robert Saleh at 2-3. But 2-3 doesn't feel like the end-all be-all. And Robert Saleh, the defensive play caller for the Jets there, that feels like the wrong decision to make, given that unit is significantly better than the offensive unit. So they're 2-3. They've gone all in around Aaron Rodgers. Would the Jets be willing to sell off parts? Because if I'm the Titans, and I know that he seems petulant and appears to be acting like a child, where he got traded from one organization to another this offseason and just decided, no, I want a new contract and I won't play until such time as I get one. He hasn't gotten a new contract, and he's stuck to his word. He continues to take pretty significant financial hits every game check that he misses. But with everything that's going on right now with the Titans and their lack of pass rush, I can't help but think that there should at least be some consideration to acquiring a player like Hassan Reddick. Wouldn't he immediately be? I mean, who's a better pass rusher, Hassan Reddick or Harold Landry?
I think they're pretty close.
That's what I'm saying.
But 2 would be great.
Two would make a hell of a difference for a team that's not successfully generating pass rush or not successfully affecting the quarterback the way that they need to be able to survive at this rate. Like I said, they don't have to be the best defense in football. It's a nice thing to say. It's a nice thing to tout. It's something that you can hang your hat on at least, because if your offense isn't very good or you're down on your quarterback situation, whatever, you can look at the defense and say, yeah, but look at all the work that they've done. Look at all the players that we've gotten. Look at all the good film that they've put out there. And again, it's against lesser competition, but it is good film. They do have good players, but I don't know how much longer they can be one of the league's best defenses without a legitimate pass rush. So Reddick would be, he's a star pass rusher. He would make a lot of sense to add to a football team. There's also guys like Yannick Ngakoue who's just chilling on the Ravens practice squad. So I don't understand why any team that's desperately in need of a pass rusher wouldn't jump at the opportunity to go out and acquire one of these guys, especially if because the Titans spent all this damn money. You know, Amy's looking at this thing and being like, no, this is not a year where you sell off and waste a year of L'Jarius Sneed or Lloyd Cushenberry or Calvin Ridley just to go and sell parts at the deadline. If they're going to buy, they need to act like they legitimately want to make a push at this thing, even if it's just for a wild card. Anyway, Diana Rossini is here. She's been on every damn show across the country this week. She should have told us no to coming on the radio show today, but she's a very, very sweet person. She hosts the Scoop City podcast along with former NFL quarterback Chase Daniel. It is a great podcast. You need to check it out. The information is awesome. The guests are excellent. You don't get that kind of access anywhere else. And their latest episode is an emergency reaction pod to the firing of Robert Saleh as the head coach of the New York Jets. Hi, friend.
Yeah, it's been busy. First of all, you're never going to get a no from me. There was a time in my career where you were the only one calling, asking me to come on the show. So just because a couple things have changed and, you got a little Dan Patrick, a little Colin Cowherd, a little Dan Lebatard, they can all wait.
Can you find her, please? Can we find her for dropping all those names real quick? Thank you. That's a finable offense around here. Absolutely.
What a snot. A snobby way to start an interview.
They do it to me all the time. It's okay. It's nice to know that I'm not the only snot on the show. It's appreciated. Also, we wouldn't have you here unless Lucas was on vacation for the week, because I know that he's been distasteful about the podcast, so we had to send him away for the week.
Yeah, every time I look at a review of the podcast, there's always like that one person that gives it 1 star and will be like, Rossini stinks. Her voice sounds like a witch, and I'm like, thanks, Lucas. Like I know it's him, so he can stop, trolling me on my Apple Podcast comment section.
So how many emergency reaction podcasts have you ever done in your very new, not new as a podcast guest, but new as a podcast host career? This is the first, yes?
It is the second, and the fact that I can't even remember what the other one was tells you that it wasn't that important. But yeah, that was fun. So, you know me a long time. News is fun, and I don't like firings. Nobody does. But I think the fact that the Jets did this at the time that they did was so shocking in the New York area, specifically where I live. You kind of I was actually on live TV when it happened and just didn't really believe it. I'm like, I know that they're okay with firing Robert Saleh, and I don't mean to be insensitive about it. I just can't believe they're doing it in week 5 or after week 5. So yeah, it was definitely important that we did an emergency podcast on it, because I knew people were working that day and busy, and you can only imagine how they were, getting all the information. And I spent most of Tuesday calling people to try to find out, all right, how did we get here? So, we were able to put that together, and a lot of people tuned in. So I'm pretty psyched.
There was a lot of conflicting reports on it, but the one thing that seems to be consistent is that somebody was planning to demote Nathaniel Hackett from his offensive play calling duties, and that Todd Downing, Titans legend, baby, he's back in the driver's seat calling plays. I'm not going to put you in a spot to poke fun at coaches, because I know you have a lot of connections and relationships that I don't want to jeopardize here. But that, to me, respectfully, is laugh out loud.
Trust me, I saw that, and my first thought was, I can't shake the Titans. I can't even get away from them when I want to get away from them. I'm trying to, and I can't. And it's like, you got Tony Dews, you got Keith Carter, you got Todd Downing running the show here in New York. But look, I look at it as this for Todd. He's really good in the red zone. I know it's hard to remember, but try to rack your brain there. They were really good. And if they run the ball a little bit more, this Jets offense can be pretty good. Breece Hall's good. They need to give him the ball more. But Buck, I look at it this way. It doesn't matter if it was Todd Downing or Arthur Smith, who they try to hire in the offseason. Aaron Rodgers is going to call the play at the line of scrimmage. He's going to be the one waving to the receivers of what he wants them to do. So while the title of play caller is now under Todd Downing's bio or above the bio, it's really Aaron Rodgers' show here.
Yeah, that dynamic is going to be interesting to watch play out. Diana Rossini, senior NFL insider for The Athletic. You can read her at theathletic.com. There's a Scoop City newsletter as well as the podcast. I highly recommend the Scoop City newsletter for all the insights and information you need before every NFL Sunday. I know something you've been trying to keep tabs on very diligently is Davante Adams. What is the latest with him? Because I saw a quote from Max Crosby earlier this week. When asked about Davante Adams seeking a trade, he just kind of shrugged his shoulders and said that's kind of how things go there. I can't understand how an NFL organization functions that way, where one of your best two players is like, this is the vibes. This is what we deal with every year.
Imagine the Titans had a guy like Max Crosby, just game wrecker.
Listen, I'm out here lobbying for Hassan Reddick, and he seems like a petulant child. I mean, I don't care. They need a pass rush.
Yeah, Max Crosby. He's just, there's not a lot like him in football right now, and I love covering him. He's so intense, but I appreciate that he is calling it how it is. He knows what the situation is. I'm curious to see what his career is going to be next to, if he winds up staying there and as a Raider. But I know head coaches that would be dying to have Max Crosby on their roster. But look, that being said, the Davante Adams thing is so funny now because you have the Antonio Pierce being like, well, Davante's a Raider now. But it was last week when Davante walked in his office and said, look, I don't want to be here anymore. I want to be traded. And no one's surprised by that. This has been building all summer long. Obviously, you saw those reports where his agent was denying it all. Tom Telesco, the GM of the Raiders, joined Scoop City over the summer to talk about it as well. And he's like, look, that stuff happens. Stuff gets around and there's rumors, but we've all been doing this so long. Where there's smoke, there's fire usually. Very rarely is it just nothing. And this was nothing. This was not nothing. So the Jets, the Saints, the two front runners trying to get this deal done. I think the Jet situation threw a little bit of a wrench and slowed this down. Not saying that Joe Douglas can't do business without his head coach in place. And it's just, there was a lot going on at Florham Park on Tuesday. People were really surprised that Woody Johnson made this decision. People that would normally probably be part of that process were surprised. So there's kind of a lot of tentacles to it. So I think that slowed it up, on top of the fact that the Raiders are looking for a second round pick and they can't get it. No one is willing to do that. I think when this thing shakes out, it's going to look a lot like the Stephon Diggs trade from Buffalo to Houston, where it's essentially a third rounder. And the Raiders don't want to take on the money. They don't want to pay any of this, which is why teams like Buffalo are like, come on, we want to hop in. But we can't because we don't have the money. And Kansas City was lurking a little, but they're out now.
Speaking of Kansas City, they have their own injury situations. Titans, I think it's too early for them. We'll see what happens against the Colts this weekend. It definitely hasn't gone the way that all the off-season honeymoon people would have you had thought that this season was going to start. Certainly, Hopkins gets brought up a lot around here, especially because we know Kansas City wanted him. They weren't willing to pay, with the Titans and Patriots were ultimately willing to pay to acquire him last offseason. Is there any sense that Hopkins could be moved, even though we're still pretty early in this thing for a team that has their first divisional game on Sunday?
We're early, but he's a name. He is a name that pops up. He is a name that I've had conversations with teams about. It makes sense. People get it. People respect his play. They still think he's a really good player. And financially, for some teams, it could make sense. I don't know if Tennessee's going to pull the trigger on it. I don't know if they're going to be willing to deal him. But in terms of just, I wouldn't say the interest was like it was before he became a Titan. Sure. That felt, even though it came down to Tennessee and New England at the time, there were a lot more teams I remember talking to that were trying to get in. They stepped out eventually because they weren't willing to do the deal. But I wouldn't say he's getting that type of level of interest, but his name it's out there. I actually even wrote about it in my column last Saturday, just as a name to just keep an eye on. And look, so much does change between now and the trade deadline. As you know, the Titans can turn this thing around and start getting on this get on a win streak here, and maybe it changes a little bit. But I think DeAndre is probably a name and a player that is going to be on a lot of teams' boards if Tennessee certainly starts losing more.
Yeah, I mean, they did so much to try and make this thing baseline competitive, Diana. Like, they did so much.
You mean top to bottom, like with the roster?
Top to bottom with the roster. They went out and got the coaching staff. Titans fans thought they were getting a modern, new look passing game. No more Derrick Henry. No more 3 yards of a cloud of dust. And now Derrick Henry is playing the most efficient football of the last 6 years of his career, which, by the way, includes the 2,000-yard season. Titans fans hate me for this, but he looks happier than I've ever seen him look with playing alongside Lamar Jackson.
No. I'll tell you. He's so happy.
So happy.
I've spoken to him. He's so happy. But he's happy because he's having so much success. He's playing at a high level. He's playing on a team that has potential to go to the Super Bowl. It makes sense. I don't think it's a knock on Tennessee at all. Because the times where he was having success there, obviously the 2019 run, I'm sure he would put up there as some of the top moments in his career, especially what he was doing on the field. That feels so long ago now, though, so I just think it'd been so long since he felt that. And then he's, first play of the game, just ripping yards like a monster. So I'm being kind of funny saying, yeah, how could he not? How could he not be? How could Titans fans not be happy for him either?
Oh, because they hate the
especially
Ravens.
for everything.
They hate the Ravens so much here, Diane. I don't
No, I know. So, do you mind if I ask you a question?
Sure.
What is the temperature from the fan base right now in terms of how it feels? Because the excitement I know is always there. The support for the head coach is pretty consistent from the outside. Everyone tells me coach knows what he's doing. He's really good. I talk to people in the building. Vibes are high. It's not dysfunctional. It's not messy. It's not. People are on the same page. So how are the fans feeling about it? Because it's not great right now.
I won't pretend to speak for the majority, but the sense that I get based on the radio show and the reaction that we get is that people feel like they were sold a false bill of goods on what this thing was going to be. And it's, it centers around the quarterback, and it's particularly poignant because their first 30-plus point performance in 1,002 days came with Mason Rudolph at quarterback, paper cutting the Dolphins defense to death, a field goal fest, a weird safety, all kinds of weird officiating things that had to happen in that game. I know you were watching. I don't know why you were watching. Seattle and Detroit was a way better game. You're nuts for that. But
I stuck through the whole game.
You're sick.
The whole game. I never switched over. I wanted to, I wanted to see what Mason could do. I was curious on how the team would sort of bounce. They had success the last time they were on Monday Night Football in Miami. I thought, maybe they could pull this off again. And they did. So
they did, I guess.
That was great to watch for Tennessee and for Brian Callahan to get his first win as a head coach. But I wrote about it over the weekend that, there's people in the division who think that Will Levis is going to get benched at some point here. Just because we saw Mason Rudolph be decent. I don't think Tennessee's doing that right now. No way. I think they're sticking with Will.
Not right now, but Diana, and I know you're plenty informed, so it's not like I need to tell you anything you may not know. But my whole thing is 100% behind Will Levis as long as he's healthy. For how long? That's not a blanket statement. It's a blanket statement for this week, and maybe the following week, and we'll see how much longer that goes. But I don't get the sense that is an overarching, all right, we're just going to do it 17 games no matter what.
No. I don't get that sense either. I don't think ownership is going, you must play Will all year long. We must see what he can do. I think everybody knows what he can do at this point. I think they have a good understanding of his strengths and his weaknesses and have probably made the call if he's the guy or not. But I just think you look around the league and to your point, if the locker room thinks the other guy is better, it's over. It's hard. It is hard to stick with the guy that you want because of whatever reason. He's your draft pick or you're paying him a lot of money. I get questions all the time about Cleveland, right? You got the Deshaun Watson situation where the quarterback play is not good. You got Jameis Winston. You got DTR there. They're also not that good. So it's different. But if that ever gets to a point too where the team thinks that Jameis Winston's the better choice, I think things would change in Cleveland too. We saw the Patriots just go to Drake May, making that call. So look, I think it's all about the players. It's what they see it, right? We've been doing this long enough to know, like, there's no secrets. Everyone's watching practice. They're part of practice. They know who can play. But I'll give Will credit, man. He's a competitor. He does not want to lose this job.
Yeah, he's so tightly wound. I just don't know what would happen to him from a mental standpoint if he did lose this job. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's every press conference with this guy is a psych eval. Respect.
I haven't tuned in a while. I need to watch more of these press conferences. I stopped watching them years ago. Because when I was at ESPN, the monitors would be by our computers, so we could like tap into all the press conferences all around the league. And so I was really good at one point. It's probably when the Titans were really good. I used to watch them all. But it's hard to watch a press conference when the teams are struggling. You're just like, especially with Braves, there is like the same line every time. We got to be better.
Got to coach better, play better. Yeah, I heard Stefanski say it in Cleveland. I did the Leo DiCaprio meme.
I saw that too, Buck. I was like, he got in his head. Oh my, that consulting job he's taken over. But it's funny too, because Stefanski, for those that don't know, he's like the most even-keeled guy. Like, if you get a fiery Stefanski, something's bad. Something's really bad, or really good, I guess, because he just nothing bugs him. So the fact that he went to that line was kind of funny. The Cleveland people didn't know it. I heard it. You heard it. Like, we knew.
It's embedded in my brain for the last 6 years. Anyway, I assume you're not going to be able to take a break, because I assume you have more media obligations after this. You have a podcast, Scoop City, to host. You have things to write. You have things to report on. I do so appreciate you taking your time. When you are able to join us, check out the Scoop City podcast. We'll drop the link for you guys in the F&M Bank chat for you to subscribe. Check out the newsletter. Read everything that Diana and all the fine reporters at the Athletic are producing on all the various sports that they cover. Good to see you, girl.
Thank you so much. The show's so much better without Lucas. Thanks for having me.
I just needed one person, just one person to say it to me. I'm Buck Reisig. It's 104.5 The Zone. All right, Jackson's disgusted with me because 6 different times he said in my ear, "Hey, idiot, you have Titans-Colts tickets to give away." So that's what I'll do right now. Caller number 5, 615-737-1045 is the number. If you want the opportunity to get 2 club tickets to Titans and Colts and 2 tickets to the VIP tailgate with Ron Slay, presented by Bullseye Event Group, 615-737-1045. By the way, you don't have to keep living life with that joint pain. Real lasting relief is possible with help from QC Kinetics. People here are getting their lives back and getting their mobility back thanks to QC. They're the nation's leader in cellular therapies that can revitalize your joints. I'm talking about advanced regenerative medicine, using your own body's healing properties, highly concentrated and carefully placed in your achy joint. Back pain, shoulder pain, knee pain. These are cutting-edge treatments that require no surgery, no drugs, and no downtime. It's a quick in-office procedure that can get you moving again. And these protocols have been developed by medical professionals and under the leadership of Dr. Mitchell Scheinkup, a former orthopedic surgeon and a pioneer in clinical regenerative medicine. If arthritic joint pain is keeping you from doing the things that you love, you owe it to yourself to learn more. Call QC Kinetics in Murfreesboro today for a free consultation. 615-249-4024, 615-249-4024. Welcome back to the show. We are fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken. Fun one today. JC Latham, Diana Rossini. You can check that out via the podcast if you missed any of it. One more show to do. Coach Mack will be here tomorrow. I probably need to get a Vols guest for tomorrow, I would assume. We have talked a lot about Tennessee and Florida this week, though today we've done a lot more NFL. Preds tonight against the Dallas Stars. If you missed the latest on that, Alex Doherty reporting that UC Saros will not start in net. It will instead be backup goaltender Scott Wedgwood, who was acquired as the backup this offseason. So we will see how that goes. Hoping for a good Preds season, given the amount of expectations that they've set for themselves. Thursday Night Football tonight. You got the Niners, you got the Seahawks. You can hear it right here on 104.5 The Zone. NFC West, kind of a cluster right now. Niners 2-3, but feels like they have, they've just had a sluggish start. They've had injuries. They've had guys maybe not necessarily living up to expectation. Cough, cough, Brandon Ayuk. As far as all the drama that went into that offseason and how little dividends it's played right now. Seahawks 3-2 hosting the Niners, so we'll see how that goes on Thursday Night Football tonight. We have polls.
I am not Lucas Panzica, but these are the polls, and they're presented by Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer. Has J.C. Latham earned your trust as the Titans' left tackle? 82% say yes, 13% say do it again, Rook, and 5% say no.
He's definitely treading in the right direction to say that I implicitly trust him. I don't know that I would say that, but I think that he's got a lot of promise. I think he's made clear and obvious improvements, which is exactly what you want to see. So I'm probably in the party of do it again, Rook, though I am trending in the right direction with that.
What Titans injury is most concerning right now? Movie Mad Motto says Awuzie, and then it was a whole lot of answers for Big Jeff.
It's crazy that people aren't responding. The quarterback with a shoulder injury on his throwing shoulder, not being the most concerning of the injuries, but Jeff's the best player on the team, so I get it.
Who should be the Heisman Trophy favorite through 6 weeks? Eldon says Ashton Jeanty, and it shouldn't be close.
Yeah, I'm with that. He's been excellent. The quarterbacks haven't been good enough to usurp him. I would love to see a non-quarterback win for the first time, or at least a running back win for the first time since Derek did in 2015.
What do the Titans need to make their defense success sustainable? Brian says edge and to not be on the field the entire game while the offense goes 3 and out.
Yeah, honestly, the more that I think about it, the better solution is for the offense to score some damn points, to not go 3 and out as many times as they have through the first 4 games, or through the first 4 games, first 5 weeks, and try and give that defense a breather. But they don't have top-end pass rush beyond Harold. And I think that a guy, even if you have to pay him on the back end when you trade for a guy like Hassan Reddick, or if you acquire a player I'm blanking on the Yannick Ngakoue on the Ravens practice squad, I think that makes a lot of sense too. Those the polls?
Those are the polls.
Excellent. That's the show. I'm off to Titans practice. Prime time tonight. Coach Mack tomorrow. See you then. The Tennessee Men's Clinic is here to help you if you are somebody who's